heard a civil case Friday between the Humane Society of Parkersburg and BV Aquarium. The Humane Society of Parkersburg seized animals from BV Aquarium last week following a complaint from a customer regarding the living conditions of the animals. Birds and reptiles were seized. BV Aquarium argued that HSOP did not have the legal basis to seize the animals. HSOP argued that humane societies have the authority to seize animals that are abandoned, neglected, or cruelly treated. Magistrate Judge Marshall ruled that the seizure of the animals was proper, but that the animals must be returned to BV Aquarium by Monday at 10 a.m.
I'm disappointed in the ruling, but I hope that at the very least this was a learning opportunity for people involved, and that no matter how long you've been in business, it is always a good idea to continue to learn and to take good care of the animals that are in your charge.
It didn't go exactly the way that we wanted it to, but at least they're going to be holding her accountable for proper keeping, which is really what we aim for. Educating the public on how to properly keep exotic animals is the whole reason we founded this organization.
BV Aquarium declined to comment following Friday's court proceedings.